Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about specifically the trauma bond, what to do to get out of a trauma bond if you're in one, and if you're not in a trauma bond, how to avoid getting into a traumatic relationship. So, how to avoid getting into a relationship that has its marker as the trauma bond, right? So, the trauma bond, for those who are not familiar, is a bond with a partner, and I'm familiar with this from my father, not so much the relationship side, romantic relationships, but I know intimately what this feels like as a kid. So trauma bond is a relationship marked by two things, which is basically a power imbalance. And you could find definitions of this all over the internet, including by the founders of this concept of a trauma bond. Power imbalance is number one, and intermittent reinforcement is number two. So where there's like a clear abuser abused type of dynamic, and where there is a clear there's a clear marker of intermittent reinforcement. So that way you're getting abused, right? There's like a building of tension. Then there's like a moment where there's abuse occurring. And then after that abuse, there's the partner, the abuser coming back to tell you that they care about you, that they apologize, that it'll never happen again, that they love you, they buy you flowers, whatever. And then the cycle reoccurs. So remember, trauma bond is basically a relationship where the person who is bonded to that relationship feels as if there is no way out because is a power imbalance and because there's that intermittent reinforcement. And typically people engage in these types of relationships because they have some kind of experience with that relationship from the past. And that's usually involved with caregivers, right? That's usually where it comes from. So just keep that in mind as far as the trauma bond is concerned. There are two ways. I'm going to give you the top two ways to, number one, escape this relationship if you are currently in one. Number two, if you are not in a relationship, say, for example, you got out of one and you want to make sure that you don't get in one again, or you're not in a traumatic relationship of this kind, but you want to make sure that you avoid doing this because you understand that from your past, you were involved in some kind of a trauma bond with typically it's with one of your parents, typically, but not always. It can happen as a result of you having emotional disconnection with your parents, or one of your parents is absent. Then you get involved into a relationship when you're very young, you're very naive, and then this cycle begins, and you'd rather be in a relationship as opposed to being outside of a relationship because whatever that relationship is giving you while you're in it is better than what you're getting when you're not in a relationship, which is basically loneliness and isolation. So let's talk about the first point, which is that how to get in out of this type of a relationship when you're in one, and it's leverage, right? You want to basically create leverage on yourself, and what that basically means is you want to create as many scenarios or circumstances as possible so that you can exit that relationship and make sure that you have a system around you that's supportive so that it'll facilitate that exit. So when I say that, I don't mean only people, right? This is where a lot of people get it wrong, which is that they're like, well, the friends, the family, that is all true. That's very important. But it's also, you need more than that. As I mentioned in previous videos, anytime you have a negative pattern that you want to break, a negative habit, a negative cycle, what happens is that cycle itself is basically it's self-organizing and self-reorganizing. So you interrupt the cycle, and because the cycle is so strong and so ingrained and so conditioned that if you interrupt it at only one point, it'll just kind of self-organize. So what you want to try to do is interrupt that cycle at multiple different points to break it down properly, right? So you can see clearly, and then you take the constituent pieces, and then you can rearrange them into something else, right? It's basically the energy that you're destroying so that you can recreate something else. So in this particular instance, yes, it's very important. Remember, family and friends. If you have family and friends, these are the first people that you should go to let them know what's happening. And fundamentally, you have to also realize one thing with these traumatic relationships. And I'm about to say something very controversial, but I hope that you appreciate where this is coming from. And by the way, as an aside, our sister Amber Moon 719 asked this question about trauma bond, so you can thank her if you're going through an experience like this, because she left a comment on one of my videos. Is that it will not help if you say, for example, you're familiar with the trauma bond and you're aware of this, what they call the victim victimizer dynamic, right? Because if you believe that too much or too deeply, then you tell yourself that you're the victim, and in many real senses you actually are. But if you put yourself in that mind frame of victim and you don't give yourself power, it's going to be very unlikely that you're going to make the change. That's why oftentimes the definition of a trauma bond, the way therapists discuss it, is actually counterproductive, paradoxically speaking, to the person that is being abused, to the person that's in this relationship of negative reinforcement and power imbalance, because you're telling this person effectively that they're the victim, and it's irrelevant if it's true in many ways. What's actually happening is that they're taking the perspective of, I'm the victim, I'm the victim, I'm the victim. And if you're the victim, then what happens? Then you're not in control. You're not in control if you believe that you're the victim. You don't have the power, right? If you are a victim, you don't have the power, you're not in control. So you have to take yourself out of the mindset. You have to take yourself out of the mindset. Okay, you know what? In order for me to take back control of my life, I can't see myself as a victim, right? Because the more I see myself as a victim, the more I'm going to stay in this relationship. And this is never going to change. So you want to create leverage on yourself. What does that mean? Speak to family, speak to friends, call up somebody, make sure that you arrange, you got to take that initial step, because remember that everything happens with an initial step. So you have the thoughts, you're like, this relationship isn't right? That's good enough. But remember, law of attraction, it's a bunch of bullshit without action, right? Remember, we talked about that. Because again, you might be thinking, I'm not a victim, the thoughts, this and that, but nothing is going to happen unless you actually actively leave the relationship. So another thing that you want to do is write down, you can write down specifically what your goals are outside of this relationship that doesn't involve the relationship. What kind of relationship would you actually want? Because once you start to write down everything of things that you want and you believe that you can actually attain based off of the trajectory that you want your life to take, then you'll put yourself in the mind frame of, okay, so this is the vision that I have. This is what a real healthy relationship actually looks like. The best thing that I can do, because you're creating all of these different like loops in your brain that have nothing to do with the traumatic relationship. You're calling your friends, you're calling your family, you're watching videos like this. It makes it more likely that you're going to make an exit, or at least make an attempt. So it's about creating many different interrupting points in the process of that relationship, of you re-engaging in that relationship. So you're creating leverage against that relationship. So you're moving away from it. So that might mean booking a hotel for yourself, right? If you have nowhere to go, you want to book a hotel for yourself. You want to join a group. You want to get on Meetup, or you want to get on Eventbrite or something, and find other people who are in these relationships, who have gotten out, or who are currently in them, who are getting out. And again, you don't want to make this kind of like a mental masturbation exercise where you all go there, you talk about something, and then nothing occurs. You want to actually make it so that you make sure that you're framing it in your mind. Your intention is to leave the relationship. So you should also write this down or record it in a voice memo. A lot of what I'm saying actually goes into specifically everything that I talk about with like building your habits, building your principles, making sure that you're living in alignment, right? Developing your character, because once you go through a process to help you develop these things, it makes it more likely that you're going to be able to make the hard decisions and take the risks that you need to take in order for you to make your life better, right? So again, you're really thinking about it, you're meditating on it, you're writing a journal, you're writing it down, you're making it real, you're going out there, you're calling your friends, calling your family, you create leverage on yourself. Back when I was producing music, I was procrastinating very heavily on professionally producing my first track. So what I did is I went to, before I even found a singer to actually sing the lyrics of my song, I picked up the phone, like, if I don't do this, I'm never going to do it. When inspiration strikes, right? When you have that moment, you do it immediately. Like if this video is doing that for you, you have to pick up the phone, you have to do something to make yourself commit to a decision. So I picked up the phone and I called the studio and I booked studio time that I couldn't get back. I'm like, okay, I'll book it for this date, and I'll book like 4 hours. I'm like, okay, here it is. Where's your credit card? I'm like, oh shit. Right. So I booked a studio. Now I booked this, like now I have to do it. Like there's no way for me not to do this, because I paid for it. I paid for the time, paid for this person, right? I put money on the line, right? You're giving up something of value to create that leverage. That's another way to actually do it. You're giving up something of value to create that leverage. right? Your time, your money, your energy. So create as many different points as possible of leverage for you to move away from that relationship. And then also record memos and write things down as far as what you want out of a relationship, what your intention is, what a good relationship actually looks like. And then you have this vision. And as you start to escape that, it makes it more likely that you're going to stay away. And then keep one thing in mind throughout this whole process is that you have the power, right? Everything that I talk about in this channel has nothing to do with victim mentality. It has everything to do with you having the tools. You have the individual gifts within you. Everything that you want to create in this life, whatever that happens to be, relationship, business, your body, right? All the tools, everything that you have is within you already. I talk about that all the time. It's within you already. You have everything. And the point of this channel is for me to demonstrate, to show you that you do, to help put you into alignment so you can develop your character, develop your principles with a process that will actually help you achieve things. Right? That's the whole purpose of this channel. So keep those things in mind, right? Don't see yourself as a victim, right? See yourself as a person with power, that you have the authority, that you're a free agent, you can make decisions, you can do it, right? You can do it, and you will do it, and you write it down, right? And you speak about it, and you create different leverage points. You can join different groups. You give up your money to go somewhere, do something, book a hotel, whatever the case is, with a friend, right? You set something up for yourself. You can't expect somebody to save you. It sounds very cliche, but it's very often true that you're the one that has to take the first step. You can have people that love you, like, hey, I'm here, we can take you, But if you don't do it, it ain't gonna happen. So remember that. Number two, if you're not in a trauma bond and you want to make sure that you avoid this type of relationship, or if you're recently out of a trauma bond and you want to make sure that you don't engage or engage in that type of relationship, what do? Well, I actually spoke about this in a previous video. So what you want to do, and this is what happened when I broke up with my ex. What I wrote down was, again, this is exercises, right? This is not something that you just kind of like magically come up with and it just works, right? You have to actively go through it. So what you're doing here is you're writing down the red flags, right? All of the red flags that you saw in this person before, during the relationship. So this is all the stuff that you're writing down. You're like, okay, these are all the things that I ignored. Why did I ignore them? Right? So you're writing it down. Why did I ignore them? Typically speaking, it's because there was some kind of attraction there. That attraction was overriding your logical brain. So that's why when you write things down, you make it more likely for you to be able to remember these things. Because Amber Moon mentioned herself that it's so embarrassingly illogical yet so powerful, right? It's illogical. So what you need to do in both scenarios, as a matter of fact, is create awareness, right? You have to create a level of awareness so that way it makes it more likely that you're not going to enter into that relationship. So of course, being in a trauma bond, that's pretty clear. Like you're in a trauma bond, it's like not really that hard to distinguish like what it is, because it can happen at a small scale, but sometimes you do need that level of awareness. But this is going to be really important, especially when you're not in a relationship and you're about to get in one. You want a very, very high level of awareness of like how do you operate? When Socrates said know thyself, he didn't mean know your autobiography. He meant know how you operate. It's kind of like your owner's manual, the owner's manual for you, right? You have to know how you operate. So you're creating a high level awareness. You're creating the two things, right? The red flags, the green flags. So what? And again, the fact that you know what a trauma bond is now makes it a lot easier, right? So you make all the red flags. You can go on the internet and just find qualities of people who would engage in a trauma bond, and they're the ones that would be the abuser, right? So you're writing down all the red flags. And if you were in a relationship, you write down why you ignored those red flags. And typically it has to do with attraction. Second column, you write down all the green flags. So what are you actually looking for in a partner? And again, this could be a previous partner and it could be a future partner. So you're basically making a list of things. And I wrote a memo on my phone entitled How to Filter Relationships. What are the types of questions that I'm going to ask? What kind of answers do I expect to receive? What are some non-negotiables? What are things that I'm willing to negotiate on? What are the things that are points that are requirements? Well, I guess I said the same thing twice. So what are the negotiables? So what are you willing to kind of be flexible on? What are the non-negotiables? What do you absolutely need? Right? What are the green flags? So what's a yes as far as like continuing the relationship, and what's like a hard no? Right? It's a hard no. And once you see that, you have to tell yourself. That's why the awareness is very important, right? You're creating the awareness and you're like, okay, once you see it, boom, right? Refer to your notes. Like oftentimes, that's why people have calendars, man, right? So people have calendars, they look at their calendar, they're like, oh, I don't know. Like even really, really, really successful people have calendars and reminders because they forget. like people forget what to do. Like sometimes I forget what to do. So I'll have to like look at things that I already know that oh right, that thing, right? And then you do the thing or you don't do the thing. So once you have it written down, you upload it on your computer as like a spreadsheet or a document. And then you have it there perpetually. You have it there. So every time that you're seeking a relationship or in a relationship, you're referring to the document, referring to it, awareness, awareness. And keep that in mind is that you're responsible now, right? You're responsible to make sure that you do the right thing. So you're writing it down, you're making it very clear about what your vision is about the relationship, what are the red flags, what are the green flags, what are the negotiables, non-negotiables, and you make sure everything is clear. And then you carefully engage in that relationship, right? Which also means don't fuck around too quick. Don't start having sex with people that you don't know you like yet. Right? This is the problem with the culture nowadays, right? Is they just have sex with people instantly. Why? Why? What are you even looking for? I know the majority of women are not looking to just have sex. The majority of women are looking for like a long-term partner or a husband. But for some reason, like the culture has warped everything where now it's just like commonplace to just do things. Now I know what I'm looking for, right? I know that I'm looking for a wife. I'm looking for the future mother of my kids. I know 35 years of age, it doesn't take me that long to figure out if a person is worth speaking to in that context. It doesn't mean like you can't be friends, right? But hang on 1 second. I don't want to lose this point. I'm going to circle back to the friends thing. Don't delude yourself. Do not trick yourself. If you are attracted to a person, then there's no way that you can be friends, right? Or if they're attracted to you, you're not attracted to them, there's no way you can be friends, right? Attraction will exist in either a bidirectional fashion or a unidirectional fashion. So be very careful with this. It's very rare that men and women can be like true close friends. There are exceptions, of course, but don't delude yourself into thinking, oh yeah, they're cool. They got some red flags, but maybe they could just be a friend, right? You're trying to sneak it through the back door. Don't do that to yourself. Don't torture yourself. Don't trick yourself. Be honest with yourself. Create that awareness. Don't do that to yourself, right? So, what you're doing here is you're coming up with that list, right? You're carefully engaging in that relationship because, like I said, that's the point that I was getting at. Because I know what I'm looking for within 20 minutes, right? Having a conversation, I'm like, okay, this is worth having a next conversation. Within a few dates, honestly, within a few dates, you know, based off of what you're looking for in a relationship, if it's worth pursuing or not. Don't waste your time. Don't fuck around, right? That's why it's so hard for people because sex is our biological instinct. We just want to fuck, right? So it's normal. It's not abnormal, right? But you have to take what's in your brain, take the logical part of you, right? Like Amber was saying, and you put it on paper and you're constantly reminding yourself of what it is that you want. And then also what you're doing is you're reminding yourself, you're also writing down the red flags. So where things can go horribly wrong. So you want to basically draw out on that piece of paper on this note the logical kind of like conclusion to all of the green flags and all the positive aspects of the relationship and what kind of relationship that you want to create, what that looks like in the future, and what a destructive relationship would look like if you re-entered it, right? So you're basically writing down your former relationship, or if you haven't been in a trauma bond, you're writing down everything that could go wrong that you've seen go wrong in other relationships. So you're writing down basically what's your hell, like what's your heaven, what's your hell. You want to move towards your heaven, right? And now it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be perfect because that's impossible, right? You're not going to find anybody that's going to be 100% perfect. But that's why you have to write down the negotiables and the non-negotiables and be reasonable, right? Oh, my non-negotiables are going to be like, let's say if you're a woman, like the guy's got to be 6'5", actor, jacked, rich, emotionally available all the time, family man, right? Now you might say, I'm going to find him. I'm going to find him. That's not actually a bad frame to have, right? But you also have to be very, like, you have to find out truly what you value. Like, what do you actually value the most? And make sure that you don't go down a path that's going to leave you miserable and alone and delusional, right? I was like this too. I'm telling you right now, I was like this too. So you don't want to make yourself delusional, because then you're just going to end up alone. Nobody's ever going to be good enough. You're going to throw away good things and nothing is ever going to work. That's why you have to really sit down and find out, who are you, right? You're finding out, who are you and what do you need? Because the second part to that exercise is probably the most difficult part, which is this. You're going to feel very uncomfortable, but I know this for myself, which is the following. Who do I have to become? What are the qualities that I have to embody, right? What do I need to create? Like, who do I need to be in order for me to actually be to be in a relationship like the one I described? So basically, the woman that I'm describing, right? Would she be looking for a man like me? Would I be her, quote unquote, ideal man? So it's not like what just you want. I want this, right? And I'm worthy of this and I deserve this. Hang on a second, right? Maybe you need to make some changes. Maybe you need to evolve a little bit, right? Like maybe if you're out of shape, you need to get in shape. Maybe if you're dead broke, especially if you're a man, you need to get some money. You need to get some prospects. You need to get a job, right? You need to have some ambition. You need to create a plan, right? These are important things to women, right? So, and to men, like, again, this is kind of like, I'm being a little bit more traditional, but you get the point here. The point here is that you're writing down everything that you're looking for from the other person: red flags, green flags, negotiables, non-negotiables. What do all the green flags look like in the future? Like, what does the vision look like? What do all the red flags look like in the future as far as the hell? Like, what's the heaven? What's the hell associated with that picture you're creating? And then now you're self-reflecting, which is the hardest part, right? And you're asking yourself, what do I need to do? Who do I need to become? How do I need to change in order for me to attract this person, to stay with this person, to find this person, and for us to have a successful relationship together? And be reasonable. To be honest with you, and I know women are like this too, but social media messes everybody up to the max. That's why I stay away from it like the plague. Like it's toxic cancer. Cancer. That's why I stay away from it. Okay. Which is, I'm not looking for, like, who cares? Like, supermodel, bro. It's like, nah, because the thing is, like, the person that I described, that ideal man or whatever, that person doesn't actually exist, right? So you have to also keep in mind, and it's not like a limiting belief. Is there are certain people that that they either don't exist or they're just so rare that you delude yourself into thinking that you're going to find that particular person, because oftentimes uh, you can get caught up in your own vision, your own echo chamber, and you're actually blind to everything else that's an opportunity for you. So I'm not looking for a supermodel, right? I don't need a supermodel girlfriend, supermodel wife who's good with the kids, who's not narcissistic. It's like, how are those two things actually combined? How are you going to look for a 6'5" male model, professional athlete, jacked billionaire, professional athlete, supermodel, 6'4", great with kids, wants a family, wants to settle down, and only be with one woman, right? So like, how am I going to find a supermodel who is not self-absorbed and narcissistic? All they do for a living is walk, right, and take photos and put things on. No offense to any models out there, but that's your job. That's kind of your life, right? You're putting your face on things, makeup. Oh, look at me, I'm pretty, whatever, right? So I'm not interested in that. Zero. I have beauty. I have an aesthetic of beauty, and I know what that is. Like, I can recognize it within myself. Like, I recognize that attraction, right? So you have to ask yourself, okay, what are all of the things that I need to have in place? And they have to be across like different domains, right? So you're having like the physical domain, spiritual domain, intellectual domain, professional domain. So you have to make sure that you have things in different categories, because if you're stacking all of your chips in one category, it's going to be very unlikely that you're going to have like a holistic relationship, one that's actually like fruitful, and it's going to provide you with everything that you need, because everything that we need is not only intellectual, it's not only professional, it's not only physical, it's not only spiritual, right? There are different things in different parts, right? And you have to be able to figure out, through understanding yourself, What are the negotiables? What are the non-negotiables? If this whole section now sounds very kind of like long and 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 work intensive, like energy intensive, it kind of is, right? You actually have to put thought into this. If you want the relationship that you want, you have to put thought into this. By the way, pro tip, you can actually do this exercise while you're in the trauma bond, and it's going to be more likely for you to leave. You're like, okay, well, this is what I want. This is what I have to change. You add the whole leverage thing, and now all of a sudden you're in a way better position. You add the whole mindset of like, okay, I'm not a victim because I need to get myself out of this. I have the power. I can make the decisions, right? It's up to me. You put all that together, and you're unstoppable, right? You're unstoppable, and it's going to be hard, right? You're going to have to take chances, and you're going to have to basically rip the band-aid off, right? Because if you don't do that, then you're going to prolong the pain. You're going to lose time. You're going to lose energy. Your life is going to get worse. You're going to get worse. Everything is going to get worse gradually and painfully over time, as opposed to you ripping off the band-aid. It's super painful for a few, probably months. And then as you process your emotions, as you're going through everything, right, you allow yourself to sit with the pain. You allow yourself to like speak with people, allow people to like support you, comfort you, make sure that, you're engaged in like content like this, whatever, you're writing things down, you're starting to understand things, and then you can kind of transition forward. You're helping yourself do things that allow you to heal. For me, it's music. I love music. Music is very healing for me. And that's what you got to do, right? So that's the first part. You're writing all that stuff down, you're playing things out, and then you're finding out, how do I have to change specifically? Like, what are the things that I need to do? Like I said, you got to figure it out. Like, do I have a really, really messed up family dynamic and I need therapy? Like, I can't solve this problem on my own. Then you're going to have to do that. I mentioned to you in the past, when I was in my early 20s, I'm 35 now, I did a couple of years of therapy. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, you need to do everything in your power to help yourself evolve. Don't think that you're this perfect flower or whatever, right? Because I used to think of this too. Like, why doesn't anybody love me for me? I just want somebody that's going to love me for me. Well, maybe I was maybe I wasn't a good person, right? Maybe I was a person that was blind, right? With no ambition, with no prospects, with no direction, right? And especially as a man, that's very unattractive for women. Why would they want anybody like me? It's fine. I was able to get women attracted to me, but the thing is that it would never lead anywhere. Like, the reason it wouldn't lead anywhere, because I was insecure within myself, because I'm like, well, I don't think I'm even worth this person's time. So I had a lot of like self-worth issues as well. And you know what? You know how I built self-worth issues? I didn't sit there and do affirmations to myself. I didn't psychologically figure out how to hack my brain to just think that I have self-worth. I have to actually do things in the world. I have to actually change myself and become somebody, right? So I can reinforce to myself through my life that I have this real grounded confidence that I could use, and that I could actually, it's like real, it's tangible, right? So yeah, what do I want? Who do I have to become? How do I have to change, right? And again, don't think that you have to be perfect before you get this person, right? Before you start engaging in the process. You're engaging, right, with this process as you're changing, because you also have to give yourself positive reinforcement. You're always giving yourself credit. You're not making any of your emotions wrong. You're always giving yourself encouragement. I talk about this in all of my videos, all of my previous videos. Watch all of them, right? Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate, right? Are you beating yourself up, right? How to end the toxic relationship with yourself. Self-judgment is destroying you. This happened I recorded that a couple of days ago, right? All I talk about, right, when I talk about like how you're building your life and how you're regarding yourself, is removing self-judgment completely, right? You're giving yourself feedback, but you're mostly addressing yourself with like support, encouragement, self-love, positive self-talk. That's what you want to do. But nevertheless, you're still kind of improving. A lot of people think it's one or the other, right? It's like, I'm improving because I'm beating myself up and I'm always critical or whatever. Or, oh, I'm just like not, judging and just self-loving and I don't do shit and I just sit there, law of attraction. I'm worthy, I'm deserving, hooray, right? No, 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 no. You have to do both of these things, right? Not the whole deserving, whatever, right? Law of attraction. Like that is going to be hand in hand with actions, because basically the thoughts that you're having, you're proving to yourself that they're real, right? With action. That's how you're proving to yourself that they're real. Because if you just have these thoughts, if you're just perpetuating these feelings, then you're just kind of like in your own echo chamber. You're in an illusion. You're literally in an illusion if you don't do anything and you just tell yourself a bunch of stuff. You actually have to do stuff. right? Which means if you're out of shape, go to the gym. If you're not eating healthy, start eating healthy. If you don't have a job, go get a job. You understand? So this is like very practical stuff that you have to do. If you're damaged and you need therapy, go get therapy, right? There's a lot of things that you need to do. And sometimes you don't like you'll be able to know for yourself. Like you have the answers. That's another thing is that you have the answers. You have to really sit there with yourself and figure out what are the things that you need to do. Like what are the first like initial steps? And then you start taking those steps. So you could see this video here was like imbuing you with the sense of like power, responsibility, but also compassion and also tactics, right? You could see like I'm holistic. I'm very holistic with my approach. I don't just do like one thing. Like I'm very compassionate, but I'm also like, hey, like kind of like shaking you, like wake up, you have the power, you can do this. I believe in you, right? That's when I'm recording all these videos. If I didn't believe in you, if I didn't believe in this, in my experience and how it's changed I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing something else. So hope that was helpful. Make sure you take all those tools and you take kind of like that ethos and you kind of incorporate that. And if you have any comments, if you have any questions, leave them down below. I respond to all of them. Amber Moon, she left a comment. I recorded a whole video about it. Maybe I've been going for like 25 minutes now. Recorded like a 25-minute video, 25-minute long video based off of Amber's comment, right? And it's happened in the past with previous people. I record long videos based off of people's questions or comments. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. You could like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. You can give me some feedback, right? You can tell me what you agreed with, what you disagreed with. This is fine. Like I'm open, right? I'm very open. Um, so yeah. Anyway, hope that was helpful. I'll leave you with that for now. And I'm going to upload this video right now so you can get some value from it. And that's it for me. Until next time, I will see you soon.